President Jonathan, thank you so much for sitting down to speak to CNN.
You're welcome.
Nigeria is celebrating 50 years of independence. I want to get your thoughts on what you think the country has achieved in that time.
Within the past 50 years, as a nation, just like as a child, that you start developing, when you get to the age of 25, you look back, compare yourself with your peer. By the time you get to the age of 50, you also look back and see what you have achieved. One thing that I know and I feel Nigerians must celebrate is our unity and our peace. Yes, we experienced a civil war that lasted 30 months. Some other countries experienced civil war that lasted years. We have our own challenges that government is confronting, but still we play a significant role globally. Whenever they talk about Africa, we want Nigeria's voice. So you can still see that Nigeria still plays a unique role globally. We are still united. We are confronting our challenges. That alone is enough to celebrate.
You talk about the unity and stability that Nigeria has as a feature of this 50 years. Another feature is the high poverty rates and the infrastructure issues that remain. These are two elements that exist in a country that over the course of 50 years has established itself as a world leader in oil production. There is a lot of money in this country. I've been here several times and spoken to a lot of people, yet you're still dealing with these issues. Where is all the money gone?
If you look at the money gotten from oil vis-a-vis the population of Nigeria, you'll see it's quite little. In most cases, when people talk about the oil wealth, they compare nations. There are some nations that you have less than 5 million people. Nigeria has 150 million people. I cannot say that all the money we've earned from oil from 1958, that the first drop of oil was exported from this country till date, that the money has been effectively used. I'm not saying that there are no leakages.
I want us to look forward now. There are many who believe that with your decision to seek re-election, you're going against the zoning agreement, which states that the presidency will rotate between the North and South every 8 years. The late President Yar'Adua was a Northerner. He died in his first term. There are those who feel you're putting personal ambition ahead of the stability and peace of Nigeria. Is that what you're doing?
Definitely not. You see, the argument about zoning and the presidency of Nigeria, it looks like the philosophical argument of the hen and the egg and the hen, who is older, through the evolutionary process, who comes first. In the first place, if this country has agreed that presidency will rotate north and south, I couldn't have been the president today. I couldn't have been. If there's an agreement in this country that it will rotate north and south, I couldn't have been the president. The day Yar'Adua died, another Northerner would have taken over and I could have continued as a vice president.
You're effectively saying, if I understand you, that the zoning agreement doesn't include the presidency. Is that what you're effectively saying? You're saying it includes other secondary issues? Because many disagree with that. Even the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, has said that is not the case. They cite a 2002 meeting in December, caucus meeting, where they say that there was an express decision that it should include the presidency. But be that as it may, I ask you this question. Should violence break out, which you can never rule out in Nigeria, unfortunately, it's a reality. Should violence break out as a result of your decision because the Northerners are aggrieved, will you take responsibility for what plays out?
I can tell you very clearly that violence will not break out because of my interests. I can tell you very clearly.
To categorically
as a nation,
say
yes,
they
as
will
a
not
nation, we have our own challenges. We have security challenges. You have been in the country. If my interests would have instigated crisis, that day the signs would have shown. But if anybody thinks that he will go and fuel crisis, we'll take him on.
What do you stand for?
What I stand for?
What do you stand for? Your policies? Your policies?
We want to lead a country where people will be less greedy, where people will know that the commonwealth of Nigerians belong to all Nigerians, where people will know that your individual wealth depends on the wealth of people around you. If you alone become the rich person and everybody around you is poor, you are very poor. I want to live in a country where we will no longer live as prisoners. Why do we have excesses of criminal activities now? Because the thinking is that the wealth is not uniformly distributed. A lot of young graduates have no jobs and they have no hopes, and they take to arms and ammunition or some kind of antisocial living. We want to refocus Nigeria to make sure that basic infrastructure is provided, the environment is created for private investment, both within and direct foreign investment, so that jobs will be created. That is my dream for Nigeria.
So you're saying you represent...
Yes.
You represent what?
Yes, that is my focus.
You represent what?
That
future change? What are you saying
yes,
you represent?
I represent the group that we are saying that this country must be transformed. I'm not saying our past leaders didn't do well. They tried. But using the capabilities of Nigerians. If you come to this country, for example, they talk about brain drain. A number of well-trained Nigerian medical doctors, engineers, and other professionals leave Nigeria to the developed society. We want to revive that.
Let's move on and talk about corruption. Corruption is one of those issues here in Nigeria that every time there's an election, politicians stand up and say they're going to tackle it, they're going to get rid of it, yet very little changes. That is just the ugly truth. Why should people believe you when you say that you will do something about the problem? You'll do something lasting about the problem.
I never play politics with the development of Nigeria.
So
yes, the issue of corruption is a major challenge, especially in developing societies, not only Nigeria. Even in developed society, frankly speaking, it's just because their laws are so stringent and they are monitored. And that's why people go. Most of the people who create big corruptions here, especially the companies, they are not Nigerians. But the laws of the land and
the prosecution of those people.
The institutions that are set up to enforce these laws are up to the task. And what I have to do, it's not me, good luck Jonathan, that will go and catch a corrupt person.
No.
But we will strengthen the institutions to do their work. That is what happens in developed society.
I want to talk about the Niger Delta and what your plans are should you become president after the 2011 elections, what your plans are to permanently deal with the issues there.
It's challenging, especially now that resources are limited, but you must provide the basic infrastructure. Second is the education. We must focus that area and make sure that the young men and women from that area have the opportunity to be well educated. Because somebody who is well educated, the orientation changes. And when you now educate the people, they will now play a key role in the oil industry. So if you provide the basic infrastructure, which is not going to be done overnight, you provide good education, and you make them play a role in the long chain of the oil industry, then you see that this restiveness will begin to get reduced gradually.
A place like Somalia, for instance, if you're called on to submit troops, to contribute troops, would Nigeria...
No. It's that we cannot go to Somalia for peacekeeping. We must go to Somalia for peace enforcement. So if the day I'm moving troops to Somalia, I go with all the force that we require, and UN must change their rules of engagement to allow us defend ourselves. I will not allow one Nigerian soldier to be killed by anybody. But the rules of engagement by the UN, because they must work under the UN cover, their rules of engagement create problems where you have very, very militant and non-cooperative militia group who will see the UN troops as their enemies, when indeed they're supposed to be their friends.
So you would be looking to change the mandate effectively?
Yes, and we'll not send just one. We must send enough, and we must provide them with enough platforms for them to operate. That part of this country must be under control. I will not tell you too much, but it must be under control. And the kidnappers have a very short history. They will celebrate their victories for a few days.
But is there an operation underway?
We are on it, but definitely we'll get them out.